Hi, my name is Godfrey Roberts. Exactly a year ago, I had my first cataract surgery. It was also my first surgery of any kind, so I bought a book by a surgeon, cataract surgeon, and studied up and thought I knew what to expect. And I had an absolute hell of a time. It was just everything that happened next was awful. So this book is to prevent you making the same kinds of silly and unnecessary mistakes that I made and helping the process end up happily, which it does for 99% of us. Mine, by the way, ended very happily. My vision is perfect today, and it was one of the best things that's ever happened. But in between, I went through unnecessary hell. So I wrote the book to guide you through it from a patient's point of view, because there's some surprisingly silly things that they don't tell you, which I'll get to in a minute. To begin with, I've got things I should have asked the doctor beforehand. 17 questions. Now, nobody's going to ask their doctor 17 questions, realistically speaking, but there are some there that are very important, and some will be more important to you than they were to me. So it's a complete collection of all the things that you should think about and talk to your surgeon about before you go in. Remember, in most cases, you're going to be operated on, you're going to be fully conscious, there'll be no anesthetic, there'll be a pain-killing drops or injection in your eye, but other than that, you're going to have your eyes sliced open while you're lying in a very cold room strapped to a table. So I think it's good to prepare in every way possible. The next thing is what I call a pre-surgery checklist. Again, this is a bunch of dumb stuff that anyone should think of, but nobody does before you go in. One of the things that I had was very severe tearing. My eyes were weeping, not only in great pain, but were weeping copiously, just non-stop tears. And I got an eye infection. Why? Because I didn't have sterile eye wipes. And sooner or later, if you're wiping and wiping and wiping for hours or days on end, you're going to get an infection. So that's the kind of thing. That's on the checklist. There are 6 things to have handy at home. Make sure you've got them handy at home. And then you'll avoid a lot of these dumb mistakes that I made. The next thing is there's an in-surgery checklist. Nobody tells you in detail quite what you're going to be going through. I do. And the very first thing you need to do, or the very last thing you need to do, before you go in and get on that table, is pee. Go to the bathroom. Empty your bladder. Totally. Because you're going to be lying there for quite a long time. It's probably over an hour from beginning to end, even though the operation takes about 30 minutes. And you're going to be strapped down, and they're not going to be wanting you to get up in the middle of an eye operation to pee, and the room is freezing cold, and you're terrified. Okay? So that's on the checklist too. Then there's a post-surgery checklist, a whole bunch of things to avoid or to do. Here's one that I made a dumb mistake. I was so pleased and relieved after my operation that I had a beer with lunch. I had operation in the morning, then lunch, and I had a beer or two. Don't do that. Stay away from alcohol as long as you can possibly stay away, days at least, and weeks if possible. Alcohol just has that natural vasodilatory effect, which is why people get flushed faces if they drink a lot. Well, our eyes are very sensitive to alcohol, and the blood vessels fill up, and of course you've just had them cut open, so you're going to get a lot of pain if you get back on alcohol too quickly. So that's on the post-surgery checklist. Then there's recuperation. For some people, the top 10%, it's a dream. They drive themselves home and never feel a twinge of pain, and it's great. But for 90% of us, It's going to have little glitches along the way. Every stage will and does, and if we're prepared for them, it's no big deal, either practically or emotionally. You'll just handle it. So the recuperation checklist goes into things like the importance of being able to get a cheap prescription, cheap reading glasses, because you're going to need them in the interim before you get your final prescription, once your eye has adapted to the new lens. So you're going to need something, and you should have that in advance. It's usually around a 3 diopter. They're cheap. You can just buy these reading glasses anywhere. Have your correct length available before you even get surgery. Then have sunglasses, and preferably very high quality sunglasses. I tried cheap ones and they made things worse, actually. You're going to be extremely sensitive to light. You're going to be getting about 500% more light hitting your retina after your operation than before. And it's going to take a while for your retina to accommodate itself and your entire system, your visual system, to accommodate itself to this immensely enlarged flood of light that's hitting your retina, and also to the fact that you're focusing much more sharply. You're very sharply focused, so all that light is being more sharply focused. Expensive sunglasses, I swear by them. I use Maui Jims or something like that, but get really top-notch sunglasses. Then there are the 5 Ds, what I call the 5 Ds that plague everybody who has a cataract surgery: discomfort, disorientation, distortion, disappointment, and depression. They're all just part of the recuperation process. Discomfort, there'll be some, and between the normal amount, a bit of itchiness, a bit of swelling, and mine, which was agony and days of agony and tears. And I tell you what drugs, by the way, to take for those. Disappointment. Some people really are expecting the sort of results you see after laser surgery, which is a different procedure altogether. But this is not like that. This is going to take a while for what's called neuroadaptation, for your entire nervous system to readapt to what's going on, and give it a few months. There's no big deal. So don't rush it and don't start getting disappointed. You're going to have some distortion, and it's going to last a few weeks. And there's all kinds of different patterns of distortion that people have, but don't worry about it. You're just going to have it, and it'll go away. It's part of the neuroadaptation process. Depression. Some people get really bummed, like, oh, it didn't work, I'm not having a miracle response, and they get into a heavy depression. Don't do it. Just chill. Just expect a few months of adapting, and everything will come right. There's also, I have a chapter devoted just to driving, because it's a new hazard for a while. Until you're adapted, you can find yourself making quite serious mistakes and scraping your car along something, or trying to drive at night and not yet adapted to your new focal capability. So I've got a few tips and tricks on driving, and then run through the 22 possible complications from cataract surgery. If you want to get paranoid, read all of them, and you can worry about them, but at least you can recognize them if they happen to pop up. If you'd like a free sample of the book, just go to the link below and click on the link, and you can download a sample and read it, and I hope it helps you. My email address is on every page, so drop me a line if you have a question.